It's been 453 days since now 16-year-old Sebastian Rogers vanished from his home in Hendersonville. His disappearance sparked national headlines, but now his father says the case is losing momentum. With National Missing Children's Day coming up on Sunday, he is raising his voice and demanding urgency. News 2's Caitlin.
I went and talked to neighbors, and every single one of them, every single one, welcomed me. And if they had video surveillance, they gave it to me. The only person that would not talk to me, as the only person that had something to hide and wouldn't talk to me. You know, she has a son that's hiding and waiting for somebody in the dark, late at night on the 25th. And there needs to be some explaining for that. I'll just leave it at that.
That we are going to keep searching, we are going to keep looking, we are going to find him, and we are going to bring him home.
Since we first aired the video last month, authorities have said no evidentiary value.
It is of no evidentiary value. It is of no evidentiary value.
Can you tell me what those lights are?
No,
Why?
because the investigation remains ongoing.
Yeah, I'm working on behalf of Sebastian. I am not, my client is Sebastian, and they're the guardians that have the ability to sign.
It just started. Hi, Dad. I know this is gonna sound weird, but tomorrow's picture day. So could you send some decent clothes over to me so that I can wear the decent clothes and be handsome for my birthday with decent clothes? Mom.
Because our heart is missing. He is my world. I need him. I need him back with me.
You tell him, Arnold. Crispy, you got your window up. Crispy, hey, windows up. Hey, get back here. Crispy.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
All right, welcome everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome. Come on in. Big show, part 2, and we've got a lot. You thought yesterday was a big show, or not yesterday, I'm sorry, I took yesterday off. Sunday was a big show. Today is even bigger. More stuff discovered, new footage, stuff at the cemetery, trying to connect a little bit of the cemetery to, just the case in general, and the 3M video and all of that. We pretty much cracked that, in my opinion. This goes off just the hundreds and hundreds of hours of studying that footage, along with just, tidbits from different sources and trying to, figure out how to piece that all together. And then there was just a couple more pieces that came in within a week or so, or about a week or so ago. And now it all kind of glues together, and the time fits pretty much right on. So yeah, and then of course, for those that may have missed, maybe not last live, but what was it, Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. We had SF. Wasn't sure if it was the real one. We double checked, but it was him. It wasn't some sock account. That was SF on a Saturday evening, assuming if he wasn't in Arizona, which it still would have been an hour behind me, I think. But either way, a Saturday early evening, he is, been covering the Nancy Guthrie case, and here he is, in my chat, and that just goes to show you that we're we're poking the bear, and we're on the right track. These guys aren't too bright. That doesn't surprise me, Trishy. Does not surprise me. Yeah, if you don't agree with him, again, I unblocked him, and if he's watching, if he can put something that's not childish, such as something like this, and you have every chance to put a rebuttal, an argument. I know it's a little bit harder when you're chatting instead of being like up on a panel, but you got all the time in the world. We'll probably be going for about 2 hours. I'm sure you could put up at least some kind of argument or put it on Twitter and we'll post it. But yeah. So anyway, lots to go over. Big show. Let's see here. I played this on Saturday. This is one of the few times SF addressed me and did a video, and you can just hear the hatred, and it's kind of, I don't know if this guy is all I don't know. I worry about SF. But there's one part quote that I want to play, so I'm not going to play this whole thing like I did on Saturday. There's one part that I just want to really emphasize because it just shows you how much he cares about Sebastian Rogers, right? This is one of the cases he's been hired to work on, even though now he's moved on to other cases, but clearly he's still invested somehow. I'm pretty sure I have a good idea why, perhaps his reputation. But there's something he says in this that it just shows you, again, how much he cares about Sebastian.
Camera. Buffalo 2 has a Dodge Ram truck.
So here, this was last year. This is when I started getting into using AI. And right at the time I was using Grok, which, Grok's okay, but ChatGPT is a lot better. And long story short, I was trying to get kind of the distance, and the temperature readings, because that's one thing that's great for AI is, with this particular footage, you can it can tell you if it's an LED light, a floodlight, a halogen light, which is huge. So there's amazing things that AI can do, obviously. And so anyway, he's going through part of my live and he's just flipping out. So I'll play a little bit of that, but I just want to play one quote and then we'll move on. But,
and he goes on to tell it, photo 2 also has a single cab pickup, true top-down image, blah, blah, blah. He's giving it everything he wants it to have. And then it even, it says here, the user explicitly states the lights in the purple circle are believed to be from an unknown car, headlights and taillights. It's even saying caution. The user states, this is not AI giving you this. It's such BS, man. I mean, you gotta quit scamming on.
I'm scamming the AI is what he's. What? Who am I scamming here when I'm trying to find out information? This argument here, but this is not the one I'm talking about. But this is hilarious.
Sebastian Rogers. This is just out of fucking control, dude. Stop it. Move on. Get a goddamn job.
So this is what I'm talking about, and let me play that in whole. Because again, for somebody, obviously, you guys know, and clearly he knows to some degree. Of course, covering Sebastian, but I've been focused on the surveillance, which I cannot say. I don't know how many times I've said it. It's unbiased, right? I base my theories off the footage and, all the speculation around grounded information, right? But here's his quote that just shows you, remember, Sebastian was his client.
It's such BS, man. I mean, you gotta quit scamming on Sebastian Rogers. This is just out of fucking control, dude. Stop it. Move on. Get a goddamn job.
Yeah, move on. Forget about Sebastian.
Seriously. This is just grifting, and he goes on oh my god, you're not gonna believe.
Had more for you guys.
Oh, it's
so I'm using Grok.
Thing ever. Yeah.
But now, thanks to AI and, of course, keeping on with this case and not giving up, we've pretty much figured out the 3 a.m. video, which if you missed Sunday, we'll go over that. I found, again, there's new footage, so if you're just coming in, hit that like button. I promise you, this will be a big live show. More stuff discovered, and we're going to kind of add in a scenario. Doesn't mean this is, 100%. I'll tell you, the parts that we're kind of speculating on, and then parts that I know are pretty much more or less pretty much spot on. It's been updated. It's a great AI system. And then just the last thing is, this little argument, I just cannot help but put this up because this just shows you that they do not want this 3 a.m. car, this vehicle, talked about at all because it ruins their whole angle and everything. But I'll just play this and then we'll get to the show.
This type of light is invisible to the human eye. Now, let's just say for a second, because I've been wanting to bring this up to you, but I don't want to talk to you. Let's just say, because I've been here many times, okay, to this exact location. Let's just say that is a headlight.
It's a fog.
Tell me what car you have ever ridden in Mob Crew where the headlight right here, supposedly,
I've never said that,
has a throw pattern that just ignores the first 10 or 12 feet.
He knows that.
And then just throws light and begins like 12 feet out. So wouldn't that be fun to drive around in a car and be like, okay, I can't see anything in the first 10 or 12 feet in front of me, but my headlights start way out here. You turn your headlights on and it immediately illuminates the ground.
I cannot believe he actually brought that up. I mean, that is just mind-boggling, but not surprising at the same time because he doesn't want to address that is a car or, speculate what that is because clearly that's there. But yeah, he... Anyway.
Is actually by law. They have to do that. They have to be a certain throw pattern. I mean,
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points.
I could not think of a better quote than that right there for his response and his rambling. Especially with the throw pattern of the light, which is just like, did you really, that's a car, and that I always said that part is a headlight and the other one's a tail light. But he, because he can't, anyway. Oh my God. But yeah, that quote just, shares it all. So before we get to Crabtree and then the big part of the show, because Crabtree's going to come up a bit, and if you don't know who he is, I'll just kind of explain a little bit, because I think when we were talking about him in Sunday's show, some people didn't know who he was, but I completely missed this. I have no idea, maybe because the Nancy Guthrie case was taken off, and so everybody was... And even I kind of switched over just because there wasn't much on this 2-year anniversary other than one measly interview from the mother. That's all that means. That's all her son means to her is just one interview. Where she could have probably been all over, national media getting the word out. But I'm not going to read the whole thing. But this came from Sumner County. I completely missed this. I had no idea this came out. But there's just a couple of parts that I want to read because I find this very interesting that they put this out. But it's been 2 years since Sebastian Rogers went last seen in Henderson, Tennessee. While time has passed, this case remains, they remain committed to finding answers. It's an active and ongoing investigation. As we mark this difficult anniversary, we assure Sebastian has not been forgotten. We remain committed and seek answers. Our focus has always been, and this part's interesting, finding Sebastian delivering truth and accountability. Well, if he was a runaway, I mean, the only person to be held accountable would be Sebastian. But, so I think that's a little bit of a change in their tone. Let me know what you think about this. Maybe people have probably already gone over this. I completely missed this. And then the second part, where they bring up the FBI. Sebastian's case remains a missing person. His disappearance continues to be treated as an active and open investigation. Talks about all the law enforcement agencies that are involved. And then they continue to follow every credible lead. And then this part's interesting. I love that they put this in here. Good for them. The FBI is still offering a reward for information. And again, even Coffin Daffer, lover or hater, she made a great point that they don't offer rewards for just any runaway. A reward for information that could lead to his whereabouts or to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for his disappearance. I know that quote from FBI is not new, but I think that's very interesting that they put that in there. They could have just said, yeah, we've got all these agencies involved, but the fact that they put that in there along with the first paragraph with delivering truth and accountability, we'll have to see. And then they talk about rumors, speculations, blah, 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 blah. But I thought that was a little interesting. Yeah, some people pointed that out, and somebody emailed me. That is interesting. Yeah, I guess you could take that's not a bad point, Michelle. And somebody emailed me that, and I forgot to actually bring that up. Was last seen in Hendersonville, Tennessee, not off Stafford Court. But yeah, Hendersonville, Tennessee, much broader. So yeah, interesting. That means last scene. Yeah, I'm gonna provide an argument to that, along with, again, I got more stuff, new footage, unseen footage, and I even found something. Can't believe I've spent what feels like 1,000 hours on these 3 little clips, and there was something there. I probably saw it a couple times and thought it was a glitch, but no, I rechecked it and made sure it wasn't some kind of just funky pixelation. And no, it's there. So anyway, but that's a little bit here in a bit. Crabtree, March 1st, beginning of the month. Here we are at the end of the month. Posted, I don't know if this is on Facebook, I guess. I wanted to take a moment to let you all know. So this is where he kind of says that he's kind of taking a step back, and he's taking his videos down, or making them private, I guess. But this is what's interesting. I no longer seek the social media spotlight, searching for comments like "good job, you're doing great." And it seems, and then of course he says, "I've been very fortunate to have Fish Sticks as a mentor." Oh yeah, that says a lot. Someone I can lean on and call even if I'm having a bad day. He taught me that if this is what I truly care about, it's not about the spotlight, it's about the families who are aching. It's not about the spotlight. Fish Sticks told him it's not about the spotlight. Yet, where do we see Fish Sticks? He's a PI, and probably one of the biggest PIs, like not big, but like as far as when it comes to spotlight, he's all over the spotlight. He's all over Twitter. and Nancy Guthrie doing all this. So wait a minute, where a lot of PIs are behind the scenes. So wait, what? And then again, I'm not gonna read all this. Clearly, it sounds like he's been going through some stuff. Again, that I'm a person that I always try to look at the good and even the worst of people. And I'm not saying he's like Crabtree himself is the worst of the worst. Fish sticks, yeah, could be up there. Because I spoke a lot with Crabtree just before Fish sticks came around, and then yeah. So I'm very thankful. Fish sticks. Is taking a step back, and then the last part that I wanted to put is then, and this speaks volumes, is lastly to my man brother figure I needed in the hardest time of my life, Illuminati and Cletus, Pablo as I call him. Thanks Cletus, Pablo, and being his kind of buddy, his best friend, brother, whatever. And so to me, it sounds like, again, he's going through, I don't know, family stuff. Again, I don't want to get, into his personal stuff. Clearly he was going through some stuff, and unfortunately he found a group. They embraced him, and sadly, I feel like, now that's his family. And how we've seen mothers who have sons or whatever, or children, or not children, but their child, teenager or adult, is a murderer or whatever, but they still defend him because it's blood, it's family. And I feel like this is kind of the same thing, that he'll die on that hill with them, when eventually things come out. But then I think it's funny because in this whole thing, he basically is saying like, hey, I'm going to take a step back from the spotlight. I'm not, I'm just going to go behind the scenes. Well, that was on March 1st. And then what do you know? March 20th. And I think in between that, I think like the first week of March or second week, I don't have it right now. I know some people got some screenshots. He went off on me. So I guess so much for, taking a step back and cooling off and, whatever. And here he is, calling me a moron and using common sense twice in one sentence, which, yeah. So anyway, Crabtree, again, he's a local. He allegedly, I guess he lived around in that area. And then now, again, I don't know the exact situation, but he occasionally stays at the Proudfoot home because we see his truck, and I think he's even admitted to that in a post because, clearly the stink feet go out. They're not home most of the, I don't know how much time they actually spend at their actual home there per year. Seems like maybe a couple months, and the rest they're out. Again, with the son that is missing and could come home at any time, but yet they're gone. So anyway, all right. So I just wanted to bring in Crabtree because he was somebody that, for some of you guys know, he was actually, we were trying to figure out the size of the car, and we were going to do some measurements and all this. And this was just literally a month before I was talking with him. And then, like a few weeks later, Fish Sticks came along, and then it was, last phone call I had with him. He was like, well, spoke with Fish Sticks. He's looked at the video. He says that you're wrong. You got to check this out. Da, 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 da. And then I'm like, oh, yep, I know where this is going. So anyway.
On February 26th, Sebastian Rogers was...
I'm sure most of you know this case. I'm going to play this real quick so I can read chat for a second. But I promise you it's going to be a big show. I hate repeat myself saying that. But this is part 2. And I've got new footage. Tons of new stuff that I've discovered. And if you missed it Sunday, we pretty much have broken down second by second a 3 a.m. video, and I've got even more to present in this one. So here we go, guys. I'm just going to let this play for a second so I can zip it for a second.
Declared missing and endangered, but on the next day, on the 27th, they escalated his case to Amber Alert status. Why?
This is a News 2 breaking news alert.
And we need to start with that breaking news right now. An Amber Alert has just been issued for missing Hendersonville teenager Sebastian Rogers.
In this video, I'm going to prove what caused the Amber Alert and why it's still active. I will back this up with literally one of the biggest clues many people have missed, and why certain family members and law enforcement agencies don't want you to know about this giant clue that was there all along. Welcome and get comfortable. You are now watching The Mob Crew. In this video, I'm going to prove what caused the Amber Alert, and literally crush and end certain ongoing debates with a clue that is so big they don't want you to know. Chapter 1. From missing and endangered to Amber Alert. Just after Rogers was reported missing on day 1, law enforcement was seen, looking for any surveillance footage around the neighborhood of Rogers. Law enforcement would soon find out that one home did indeed capture something on the early morning.
This drone shot, this lovely drone shot, this came from Crabtree for me. He did this for me. This is one of the days, and this is one of the days he spoke with the actual house that we're going to point here in just a second. And the homeowner happened to be out working on his boat, and they just kind of struck up a conversation naturally. He didn't intend on going and bothering the guy with the surveillance. He was just going to measure these curbs. And then he got some drone shots for me for the ditch and everything else. So yeah, this is from Crabtree to me. And then of course this is when he spoke to the neighbor who has that 3 a.m. footage and said, all the things about, the car was literally not this tree. Actually, it might have been this tree. One of these trees here. It was like right across from it, on this road here. Anyway.
Hours of the 26th. That home was located here, and what the captured would become infamously known as the 3 a.m. lights. And on the next day, February 27th, sometime during the afternoon, the TBI would post that an Amber Alert was issued in the Rogers case, based on additional investigative information. This was certainly no coincidence.
Alert. And we need to start with that breaking news right now. An Amber Alert has just been issued for missing Hendersonville teenager Sebastian Rogers.
Officials tell me Sebastian Rogers is an autistic 15-year-old with glasses, dirty blonde hair, and was last seen wearing a black sweatshirt and sweatpants around midnight Sunday night.
Definitely increases the volatility of the situation. The medicine was there, obviously to treat his autism. So how he responds to that once the medicine is out of his system is really not my expertise. But I do know that it's going to have a negative effect on him.
Here are the criterias needed for an Amber Alert: confirmed abduction, imminent danger, targeted information, and age requirement. That's right, confirmed abduction is one of the main criterias for an Amber Alert, and it's still active. Would be commonly known as the flashlight video, and it sparked heavy speculation, so much so that eventually, law enforcement would claim that it was garbage truck lights, and Sheriff Craddock would give us the best quote of my generation.
It is of no evidentiary value.
Can you tell me what those lights are?
No.
Why? And so it could play a role down the road depending on developments?
We don't know what we don't know. So yes, it could play a role.
Reports that say that something hasn't happened are always interesting to me, because as we know, there are known knowns. There are things we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, let's get going, guys. Okay. So,
Chapter 3, The Unknown Unknown, 3 a.m. car. So what really caused the Amber Alert? Since Nick Bears purposely left the video heavily cropped and zoomed in, the public was not aware that something else was captured on that surveillance. A car was captured during the same time as the flashlights were moving in the background. Now, I understand why law enforcement would want to keep this detail out of the public during the beginning of the investigation, but after a certain amount of time, why wasn't the public made aware of?
And there's something I found in this that I'm about 90% sure is part of the video, because I know it gets paused and then they move in. But there's something that pops up and it's so fast. And maybe I've seen it before and just thought it was just pixelation because, it happens. But it'll follow the kind of potential path and what happened with subject 1 and 2, and very interesting.
This car. If you have an active Amber Alert, remember the 4 major criterias: confirmed abduction and targeted information, such as a vehicle. Now I have spent hundreds of hours breaking down these videos, using tools to break down where the car was spotted. How? We are looking at fog lights illuminating the crown of the road and using AI to read the temperature of taillights to learn they are LED lights, and so much more.
I can't tell you, finding that crown of the road was the best thing in my life. In my opinion, probably one of the biggest discoveries, because that whole light thing I had nightmares for a long time because I just didn't think I would ever be able to kind of figure out what the hell that was.
Process of elimination,
and I'm sure there was
which gives an idea of what
for
kind of make and model this mid-size sedan could be. The stepfather, who has several open CPS investigations against him regarding Sebastian, was once asked back in October of 2024 about what he thought happened to Sebastian Rogers. This was his answer.
Yeah, so I moved this. Okay, so, all right, we are now getting into, again, this is part 2 of what we had on Sunday, but much bigger, I promise you. And this kind of adds in the cemetery, right? Because a lot of people wonder kind of like, how does the cemetery fit into this? And there's just so much that, the pieces are kind of slowly fitting together, and I'll explain which ones I'm kind of speculating on and the ones I know we're much closer on. So real quick, let me just get caught up in chat. South Oz, thank you so much for snappy. First super chat. We love Snarky Chris. Thank you so much. Yes, let's release him because I've got some stuff to say at the end here. I am praying Sebastian gets justice. Thank you, Peggy, and thank you so much for the 9 months. It will come. It will. I mean, and I really hope Sebastian does come home back to Seth. Geneva, Chris, thank you for being committed to the truth. Thank you so much. Oh my God, 42 months. That's so amazing. God, that's like, I think you're probably the longest member that I can think of. Top 3, easily. Oh, thank you, Sassy. And then, of course, huge shout out to my mods. Since there's so much, I will try to pause and kind of read chat so we can kind of go back and forth. But let's start this out. Yeah, I mean, I hate, because, again, it's tough for me because I always try to look at the good in people. And again, I spoke with Crab for a good 2 months, really. There was a whole month before Fish Sticks fully came on that, he went out and did, got me footage and was doing measurements, and then even spoke with the neighbor, that had the footage twice, and shared that information with me. And then Fish Sticks came along, but yeah, it seems like he had, personal issues going on. I believe he's married, and I think he has a child. Again, I don't want to get into that because I hate that. I feel icky talking about, personal stuff, even if they're on the other side. I'm not, I try to take the high road. All right. So super important, silver sedan, because I do believe this is one of the vehicles that actually is over at the cemetery. Now, this vehicle, for those that don't know, was actually And I don't have, all the footage. This guy only has 3 days worth and only certain hours. But the night before he went missing, this silver sedan, and it's the same one that's seen on the night he went missing, was seen at midnight driving, and he goes up and does this 3-point turn at the end of the cul-de-sac off Kellen. And they do that basically the night before he went missing at midnight. Then, of course, he comes back or they, I should say, come back at just before 3 a.m., does the same exact thing. And then on the 27th, the night after he went missing, there it is, going a whole lot faster. But it's the same car. The only difference is it actually has its fog lights on. But other than that, and that was at, again, 3 a.m., but it was this time 3:15. And then, lo and behold, 30 minutes later, we have, and this tells me that they believe this car was, involved somehow. Because they literally do the same exact route that the silver sedan car, not to be confused with the 3 a.m. car, but that is an undercover. I know one of them, I believe, is the Sumner County Sheriff's vehicle, and then the other one is, I'm not sure, could be FBI. But there they are, the 27th. They literally. This is literally day 2. And so this would have been this would have been after they had issued the Amber Alert. So keep that in mind. Wait, no, because this would be day 2. So no, Amber Alert hadn't been issued, but they would have seen the footage that night, the first night. So I think they went out. And then there we are on the 28th. We have another undercover vehicle. So this would have been day 3. Literally, again, at 3 a.m. doing the same thing, right? So I think that's very, very revealing, in my opinion. Yeah, he shouldn't be there if Sebastian was there. Yeah, that would have been not good. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Belinda. Yeah, Joelle, yeah, because they're that interview says so much, the way their demeanor. Let me break my mic when I'm doing this. Okay, so let's kind of add this theory in because I've got new footage I'm going to show you here in just a minute. So again, not saying we know 100% he didn't make it home, but now, I said I've been kind of like 50-50 or 60-40, thinking he's hasn't made it home. I'm probably maybe up to 80% personally. Again, that doesn't mean he didn't make it home. There's still always a possibility. So don't, again, this is more on the speculation side. We're just using, some information, surveillance with some inside information, and then, gluing it together with some speculation to kind of piece together a potential scenario. Because really, I think it's down to 2. Either he made it home from Texas Roadhouse and then was transferred at 3 a.m., or he was transferred after they left. So obviously, Texas Roadhouse, they got there, I believe, 5:30? Just about 6:20-ish. This green hoodie person comes out, which I believe could be definitely a good chance that is KK's mother. So that would be Sebastian's grandma. allegedly, of course, we don't know 100%, but the height and build is pretty damn close, and she would have short hair as well. There was some interaction between the two cars that literally happened off, like in between the cars where we couldn't really see, but it appeared like they were handing stuff to each other. This lady goes in and only uses the restroom, yet she came from an area that she literally just came from another building, like, I want to say like mini mall, stretch of buildings that had at least 2 public restrooms. There was a pizza place, a phone store, like 4 to 5 stores, and at least 3 of them would have easily had public restrooms. Yet she goes past them and then waits between the cars for 2 minutes, literally shows up 2 minutes before they come out, about minute 40 seconds or something like that. And then there's some kind of interaction between mama and potentially her mother, and potentially maybe switching some stuff out, giving a burner phone. And then the other thing we notice is after that interaction, when Katie gets in the car, she puts in, right there, you can see her putting in earbuds, and she does that. I only saw the right one, but thanks to Hindsight and crew, they noticed that she actually does right and then left, which is interesting. Now, they do have a dash cam that has audio inside the car, but remember, the video only shows outside the vehicle, right? Because it's pointed at the window. But it does have audio that's allegedly recording whenever she's driving, I'm assuming, setup. Now, her argument was, and she allegedly didn't turn this over right away, is that she had audio of him in the car. But, how much audio? Like, is there just audio of him, like, at the beginning, and she uses that to claim, oh, well, when we made it home, he was still in the vehicle. Because obviously once that car shuts off, the camera shuts off, the audio shuts off. So, the other argument would be she could have, when leaving, there was an alleged sighting, again, and I say alleged, at this BP, which is kind of halfway to the home. So it's 15 minutes from Texas Roadhouse to their home. Now, I've been told that you can make that in like basically 10 minutes off New Shackle, 10 to 12 minutes. It says 15 minutes on Google. But there's this road that you would come up, and it's pretty low key, where you could have a car come up beside, and remember, the camera is pointing outward, right? So it has no idea what's going on inside the car, and she could easily come up onto one of these stops and exchange them out, or they could have went to that BP, pretended to like to get gas station or a drink in the, get him a drink or something. And there was allegedly a sighting where they saw 2 SUVs, hers and another one, side by side. And could they have transferred Sebastian out? In the back seat of which car, me and you? Are you talking about Katie's car? Oh, that's interesting, KV. Right. And remember, this person, this, alleged stranger, waves at Sebastian. For those that are very familiar with this case, where I'm at 27. I think I have the clip, maybe. Yeah, right here. Oh. Right here, as this goes off, they wave at Sebastian. Sebastian is just kind of like, huh? Like, who the hell are you? Or what are you doing here? More, could be like, what, Yeah, so that's interesting because, yeah, that's right. They did allegedly have a phone call with Mama G. But anyway, moving on. So, in theory, if he was transferred
the trash out.
And again, this would what dash cam would look like, right? So you wouldn't be able to see what's in the car, but there would be audio. And let's say at the BP, she transfers him out. She could easily have a recording of Sebastian, right? And then just play it, right? Just have him kind of like a yes/no question, sometime close to the home, and no one would be the wiser, right? I'll have to take a closer look, but yeah, I haven't seen anything. Not to say it couldn't
Then
be.
on Sunday, so Sunday being the day before he disappears.
Okay, we're gonna get some new footage here in just a minute to back this kind of theory up, right? Not saying this we know 100%. I'll tell you the 100 or near 100% when we get to it. And that's the 3 a.m. video and stuff. But then all the proof of life stuff, which we're going to save towards the end, but this one is the most important.
He is observed taking the trash out pretty late at night. I can't remember if it was like 6 or 7, but it was somewhat late at night.
So this is what's interesting. Now, obviously they were there at 6:30, so and 15 minutes at the very least to get home. And so I think the trash can, whoever it was between 7 and 7:15.
I guess if you don't get your trash out early, you're not gonna you're gonna.
Now this is the camera that allegedly caught Sebastian walking the trash can, and the trash can is there, right there. Only lights on were the garage lights. Yet the person that was walking had a hoodie on. Well, this is what's interesting is we look at Sebastian. Oh, sorry, because this is fast forward. Oh, no, that's hoodie. That's Sebastian here. As we can see, he's wearing jeans and a t-shirt and sneakers. But Mama appears to be wearing a hoodie. I'm pretty sure, right? That is, obviously, because she could easily grab one, but anyway.
The trash out pretty late at night. I can't remember if it was like 6 or 7, but it was somewhat late at night. I guess if you don't get your trash out early, you're not gonna you're gonna miss 9 o'clock. The lights went out at exactly 9:08 p.m. Then at about 11:45, her light goes out. Katie's light. So the mother's.
So yeah, and they could never confirm 100% because we would see it. They would have released that. If Sebastian made it home, it would be on the Amber Alert saying last seen 100% at his home on Stafford Court taking out the trash. Even though Crispy and KK say it, and here we're going to play a clip, that's not true.
So it's like, what happened? This is crazy. But I want to tell you, what was observed was the living room light on, the garage light on.
And again, that's where the trash can would have been. It's there.
Definitely.
Sorry, that's a little loud. Now, this is Heather asking them, and listen to the answer she gives. I know we've heard this a lot of times, but listen to the answer or the answer they don't give, which this is what's very interesting. I'm sure somebody's pointing this out, but listen to this quote. I know you've heard it before, but I think this says a lot. There's multiple things to take, but there's a huge one in here.
We went home straight from Texas Roadhouse.
Now notice we went straight home, which is interesting.
And we were home for approximately 15 minutes before he took the trash out. And he is on video, and the FBI was able to clear it up.
And I find it interesting that they waited 15 minutes to take the trash out. I mean, you're literally pulling into the garage. The trash can's right there. Why didn't she have him just go and take it out right then? Right? We know you mothers and, stuff, are on it. And, especially when it comes to garbage night, right? Especially if you got to pull, and you wouldn't want him to forget. You're right there. Why didn't you just let him out before he even parked in the garage? Yet you parked in the garage, it shut, and then they waited, and I'm assuming the person came out, not through the garage, but through the, out the front door, which obviously the porch lights were off. Again, super sus. But there's more what she says in here that she literally hurts herself right here.
And we were home for approximately 15 minutes before he took the trash out. And he is on video, and the FBI was able to clear it up and confirm that it's him. Even though you can tell it's him from a mile away because of how he runs, it's just, you could tell from his mannerisms. The second you look at it, it's him running. But
so Seth, the father, had seen the footage and said that all you can see is a person with a hoodie on, right? So, again, why Sebastian? And it was a fairly, for February, it was fairly warm. Like, not, warm, but, clearly he's wearing a t-shirt for dinner, right? And it's only an hour later. So now he's got to go put on a hoodie, right? And it seemed like he was freezing when he came out. But yeah, sorry. Here's the big one. Because they burned themselves big time.
And we were home for approximately 15 minutes before he took the trash out.
Texas Roadhouse.
And he is on video, and the FBI was able to clear it up and confirm that it's him. Even though you can tell it's him from a mile away because of how he runs, it's just, you could tell from his mannerisms. The second you look at it, it's him running, but still.
Okay. So he took the trash about 15 minutes, and that was about what time was that?
Don't know exactly off the top of our head.
Okay, right there. That right there just proves how shady they are and that they're hiding something. You just admitted that this was caught on surveillance. This again, we only have a screenshot of at 5:12 a.m., but this is the camera that would have caught it. Now, what did she fail to mention? Why did Chris just go not sure off the top of our head? When you literally would, if you just said that you've seen the video. Not only did this happen, recently, and this interview that she did was like, month at best? She's seen this. She would know the exact timestamp, or pretty damn close. Yeah, and of course, I know, Crispy, good old Crispy. But you guys see the argument there? Like, she would have known. If she saw the surveillance, she would have known the exact time. I think that shows that there was some kind of time discrepancy between Texas Roadhouse, where he was last seen, to when they got there, which, again, is the argument that they moved him somehow before he made it home. Again, we don't know this 100%. This is just kind of theory, but again, as more I look into this, the more I'm thinking he didn't. But I know the 3 a.m. video, there's still stuff in the 3 a.m. video, and I'll explain what I think happened, and there still could be that he did make it home. So please don't let that change, if you believe he did make it home, but that's just an argument, So I'm going to go full screen here, but I'll have my audio on. So this is new footage I haven't showed before. So please hit that like button. This is going to start to put the cemetery, because I've been meaning, wanting to put this together, because I could tell you that they were interested in the cemetery. We spoke with the church in the very beginning. We started finding this stuff, and then all of a sudden it went just radio silent. To me, it sounded like Sumner County came in, told him not to say anything, don't answer calls, whatever, and they just went, quiet. So anyway, here is it zoomed out. Again, I'm not going to go exactly specific where it's taken from, but I'll get very, very close. Bring one that's kind of newer. So that's Sebastian's home. This was the area, and there was a home up here, which has got a lot of the surveillance up on this way. And they have 4 cameras basically looking all 4 directions, and 2 of them kind of overlap. And here is the cemetery. Again, it's a historic cemetery, right? This isn't like a big, massive cemetery. It's got, I think, at best 4 main plots, and they're tiny. I mean, look at that. There's probably 20, 30 graves, probably 10 to 15 there. I mean, I'm sure there's more now since this was taken, but again, this is not like a massive, and yeah. So anyway, we're looking from over, this neighborhood, 400 yards away. So 3.5 football fields, approximately 4, maybe 4. But yeah, let me go full screen, but look at this and look at the time. And I think this is kind of the beginning of what may have been going on in my opinion. I think that's okay with what Mirnim put. But yeah, that's okay. I think what Mirnim put is okay. Anyway, let me go full screen here so you guys can see it better. And so at the bottom left is, because obviously we're working with military time right now. So they left at 6:30, right? Now look what's going on, and I could tell you, after knowing like what goes on at the cemetery, I can tell you that typically the maintenance guy, during this time of year, the maintenance guy arrives around 9 a.m., 9 to 10 a.m., I believe, because the sun doesn't come up until about 8:30, around this time of year, I believe. Comes up around 7, but yeah, we don't see him until 8 or 9, and usually 9 a.m. And then usually by 4:30 or 5 p.m., the maintenance guy or whatever is gone. And then maybe you see 1 or 2 people come into the cemetery, and that's it. Nothing. And then it's dead. And then it just repeats the same thing. So I can tell you that from our sample of what goes on at that cemetery, things only go on between 9 and 5, basically. And you're not supposed to be at that cemetery after night. It's like a park, with the park rules. That makes sense. So here we are, new footage. So it is 6:30 when he was last seen as he was leaving Texas Roadhouse. And look at what we got here. And I know it's probably hard to see the timestamp, but it's 7:50. So we're just a little over an hour later, maybe hour 20 minutes. So check this out. And this is a lot of activity that just all of a sudden appears and then it goes dead until about 3 a.m. So, if you think that they switched him out, right, and then they had to do some things, and then eventually make their way to the cemetery about an hour later. And you're going to see here, this is the stadium with the stadium lights. And remember, this is a Sunday evening. The stadium lights come on every night, and they go off. So there's no game going on. So keep that in mind. It's just those lights are on, and then they come off. So yeah, it was 6:24 when they left Texas Roadhouse, more or less. I'd say 6:30. Just evening it out, and then we are 7:50 is when it kind of starts. So looking at just a little over an hour later, and look at all this activity. And that is at the cemetery. That is not at the school. And I think I got the box on the right off, so I do apologize. Dang it. That's supposed to be the negative, but look at this. Brake lights. I think there, at the very least, there's one car, maybe two cars there. And again, when you see people going to check on their family, it's usually one car. But what are the odds? And then it's dead before that. It's dead after that until basically 3 a.m. But we'll piece this all together here in a minute. Think there might be one more thing here. Yep. And again, that's not at the school because there's no road right here. These are the bleacher lights on the right, and the stadium would be here. At the time, there was no road. There is now, but there's no road there between here because we can tell the bleacher lights from the right and to the left. So this is at the cemetery. And what in the hell are they doing? Look at this. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is two vehicles meeting up. And again, this is on the eve before he goes missing, but this, to me, could suggest that, we're leaning towards the theory that he was moved before, he got home. But they needed to get his clothing and at least his shoes to prove that he was home because, maybe they thought there's surveillance, maybe because she wouldn't have known there's surveillance across the street may have caught her taking out the trash, or allegedly Sebastian. So I think the shoes was a kind of a fail-safe, but then I think they didn't really think it through that, having the only pair of all your pairs of shoes for Sebastian are all sitting there would look stupid, wouldn't look right for a runaway scenario, right? But they needed something that he was wearing that night to prove that he made it home, and obviously the shoes would make the most sense because pants and shirt, right, it'd be a little bit tougher to prove. So I think he was moved over there. But yeah, a lot of stuff goes on, and then it just all of a sudden, it's weird. Once this light goes out, it
Personally feel.
So, anyway, that's one part of the new stuff, but there's more, of course. But again, if you feel like he made it home, it's certainly still a possibility. But I think, that kind of proves, or not proves, but that kind of adds weight to him not making it home, and this now kind of connects the cemetery and how it works. So now it could, KV, no matter what, no matter where you think Crispy was, again, he's still going to be held accountable for, even if he wasn't like there that night. I mean, clearly he, what is that? Interfered with law enforcement. I mean, God knows, and I'm sure he was part of the planning. I'm sure, well, I don't want to say I'm sure, but allegedly it was part of the planning, whatever, but you know what I'm saying? So anyway, yeah, that activity goes on for, so what, it started at 7:50 and then goes on for about 5 minutes, and then it dies down. There could be maybe a little more tidbits. I don't have all the footage, but so I think that, trying to combine the cemetery and then the Solve 3am video, trying to piece this together with the scenario that he didn't make it home. So then I think the silver sedan would have been one of those vehicles, because again, it looks like two vehicles are over there, in my opinion, at 7:50, basically 8 p.m. And then at that point, I don't know if they sat waiting at the cemetery or what, but here's the statement from Crispy, and this is so important.
This was his answer.
Because I played this before, but this is going to be even much bigger once I go a little bit further.
What do you all think happened to little Sebastian?
Sebastian.
Oh, thank you, Marino. I appreciate it.
Walked out of the house. Either it was planned or he was lured out of the house, or something triggered him to leave out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And walked out of the house. I personally feel he got to Long Hole Pike, and he got picked up in a car, and they headed westbound on Long Hole Pike. Either it was planned or he was lured out of the house, or
he's
something
likely not
triggered him to
far
leave
off
out
from
of
the
the
truth,
house.
but notice he carefully took his time to say Long Hollow.
Walked out of the house. I personally feel he got to Long Hole Pike, and
KV, that would have been, because I've studied that. That would have been, because remember, the bleachers are there, the other lake bleachers. So we're seeing, because remember, we have a hole where we can see this area here. There's basically three main areas we can see. There's a little window here that we can see some of the cemetery stuff. There is a window right here, because obviously we can see the columbrium. And I think that's where we're seeing it, because that matches up. That's like right in the middle of that big stadium light, because there's, I think that's the big stadium light. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure that was here where we're seeing these vehicles. I can't say 100%, but I would say that's my best guess. Trooper, man, I'm sorry, I'm looking for your comment. I'll try to see if I can find it here. Maybe you could repost it. I apologize. It's tough when you got a lot of people. So he says westbound. So
he got picked up in a car, and they headed westbound on Long Hole Pike.
Wow.
What's eerie is,
and of course, we're going to add this whole westbound in even further than we had before on Sunday. But we have to add in the silver sedan, because I think this came from the cemetery, and the other 3 a.m. car, the one that either abducted Sebastian or had Sebastian's shoes, would be over there as well. I think they'd eventually meet. But I think they came through out the cemetery, probably trying to avoid the, and maybe this was done to avoid the license plate reader over here. I don't know. You know, he says it wasn't working. Who knows? There's one other thing I was going to say. Oh, Geneva, thank you so much for the PayPal. God bless you. That is so sweet. I appreciate the love and support. It means the world. I always say this. I spend hours and hours preparing these shows for you guys, these animations. Try to, make sure you guys, get a good visual and understanding, especially for those that may not follow the case every day. So, but this is really important, and there's one thing I have to correct that I was wrong because of my dyslexia. Not a big deal, but this is very fascinating. So now, in this scenario, that he was moved elsewhere, potentially a cemetery. Not saying he was buried there, but, because we did have a cadaver dog go out there and we didn't find anything. Not to say there couldn't be actual evidence buried there. I told you guys, and I was wrong, that most cars are seen going west. And I misspoke. That's my dyslexia. I do apologize. Actually, more cars are seen going west than they are east. But that's actually really important. And I'll tell you why here in a minute. But there is, and I'll tell you the totals between 3 and 4. So here we have 2:58, 8 seconds. We have one of 8 vehicles that we see at between 3 and 4. And this is the silver sedan. I'll play this part and then I'll pause it because then we're going to break down at 3 a.m. And I've got new stuff. Oh my gosh. So we make a timestamp there. And then when the car comes into this, because we don't have the car coming back for some reason, there's no video of this. So we use the next video here as our next timestamp. And you'll get why I'm doing this here in a minute if you missed it on Sunday. But second it comes into frame, I make a timestamp there. So we use when we saw it on Long Hollow, which if anybody was wondering, I forgot to add in. When we're looking at that video where we see a car, oh my gosh. We're looking from a camera up here at an angle that looks kind of over all this, but we have a little spot that we can see Long Hollow. And then that's about 50 yards or so from the entrance to Kellen. So we use the timestamp that we see on Long Hollow at 58 and 8 seconds, and then the timestamp of when we see the car coming up. This is important. So we have 46 seconds difference between when it was on Long Hollow to when it was seen on the first frame of it coming up Kellen. It does its 3-point turn, and then we do the same thing. Is the last frame we see more or less when it comes back. We make another timestamp. Oops. It kind of popped up early, but as you can see, boom, 2:59 and 35 seconds. We mark that. And then when we see the car again on Long Hollow, this time going east, which is left, we see it at 3 a.m. and 30 seconds. And that's a difference of 55 seconds. So that's a difference of 9 seconds So it took a little bit longer. And that means it wasn't doing the U-turn. It wasn't the U-turn because we didn't take that timestamp until it came after the U-turn. So that means after it passed, as it's coming down, there's a certain part where it took a little bit longer, and I have a theory as why. And then the other interesting thing to add on to this, so there it is there's only 3 vehicles that go east between 3 and 4 a.m. And one of those we know for sure is that silver sedan. So keep that in mind because that'll become important later. So here's a reenactment of the silver sedan from its point of view. So it does the little cul-de-sac turn, right? And this is from our wonderful Silvers on the scene here. But as they slow down, and notice the timestamp that this car would have been approaching the end around 3 a.m. on the dot. So, you could tell, is that just a coincidence that they're just right on the 3 a.m. mark? Or is this because, they're former Navy, they're on those kind of punctual times. And it spent a little extra 9 seconds than it did when it was coming up. And on the right is the Carley home. Now, they're the neighbors that are behind the proud stink feet on the opposite side. They share backyards, or their backyards look at each other. And for those that already know, I believe Carley is potentially one of the subjects we see with the flashlights. But I think the silver sedan, when it was coming back, because obviously I think they were smart enough not to use cell phones. I think because it's 3 a.m., he does have family, but I'm sure they're all in bed. And I think this silver sedan did some kind of signal, either did a high beam as it passed the house, maybe had a flashlight in its vehicle, flashed a little Morse code, whatever. And then because Carley's home looks at the backyard of the Stinkfeet home, he could have then signaled Katie, KK, to alert her that, it's a green for go. And that makes total sense. And I'll pause it here and I'll read some chat for a second as we get to the really interesting stuff with another new discovery. But this is his camera that looks in the backyard that looks at their home. Now, this thumbnail is at 3:06, which we'll get into. But as we can see, interestingly, the sunroom lights, which this, if we were to go through this, it'd be a little kind of mud room. I don't know if that's a mud room or something like that, but a sunroom. And then there is the living room. Living room's right here. And then this area here is KK's bedroom. There are, except for the garage, on each corner of the home is a bedroom. We have Faith's bedroom, who they didn't, is only temporary custody. She wasn't there. Sebastian's bedroom is on the other corner towards the front of the home, and hers is back here. And yes, that is her light on, but we'll get into that in a minute. But she could clearly have, it clearly looks like she had at least 1 to 2 windows completely. She has the plantation windows, or blinds, I'm sorry. And clearly one of them is completely open, and probably her bedroom one as well. And maybe looking to see for that signal. Again, this is only theory. I don't know, but let me know your thoughts. But I think that could hold some weight.
I had been
reading a chapter that I needed to, and I had been talking to my husband on the phone. I was falling asleep on him, so that's when he told me it was around midnight. He told me to go ahead and put the dogs up and go to bed, and that's what I did. I got up, put the dogs where they sleep, and then I myself went to bed.
So I wanted to add that in because she's emphasized that a bunch of times, most specifically on Nancy. Reading a book, I was falling asleep, and I was trying to find the other quote. I can't remember where it comes from. Maybe hindsight could tell me, where she was saying, yeah, I'm speaking with my husband, and I think it was Crispy speaking, of course, and he's like, you're falling asleep, we should finish the phone call, whatever. And I think that's just another thing to reinforce that, A, she's falling asleep, she went to bed, she has no idea what's going on, right? Amy, thank you so much, you're awesome, we appreciate you 100%, thank you so much. I'm hoping all this stuff, because there's a lot of stuff, and I'll do a short video eventually to put out for those that like the short stuff. South Osync, again, Chris, huge shout out to your brilliant mods too. Yeah, all my mods are wonderful. We keep a tight knit group, and I know there's so many wonderful chatters. That do such an amazing job. Even though if they're not mods, they still say hi to other people, are very welcoming. We got such an amazing community, so I thank you to those people. They know who they are. Is it Raquel? I hope I got that right. Raquel, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. God bless you. Keep on, the poll is interesting. I haven't even seen it. Let's see what we got here. Holy cow, we're at 450. And it's a little bit back and forth, but it's almost 40, 60. So 60 say no, he did not make it home. That's interesting. I think more people are starting to either be in the middle or starting to think he didn't make it home. And again, I was one that I thought for sure he made it home. Well, I wouldn't say thought for sure, but with the 3M video, I thought he was being moved. But and again, it's still definitely possible. Well, Barb, unless you missed the part where they need to get his shoes back to the house. And thank you. And yes, my mods are amazing. And I appreciate the feedback. But yeah, I'll put this out. But yeah, obviously they got to get his shoes back there, right? So if he didn't make it home, remember the shoes he was wearing that night, they made it home. So they got to get those shoes back there. So keep that in mind. They still have to, do it. Oh, I think you're right, Coop. Thank you, Coop. Yeah, that sounds probably right. That from that interview. Yeah, they're falling asleep, and he was telling her, "Yeah, you better go to bed." Thank you, Coop. I was kind of looking for that one. And Patty, thanks for your work on this. Your work is hard and it shows. Thank you. It means the world to me. And again, I can never emphasize this enough. I would not be able to do this without your guys' support. I know not everybody can donate or be a member or whatever, but just being here, hitting the like button and chatting helps us out. All right. So back to the timeline, right? So sedan comes, the silver sedan, right? Now, in this part of that is a theory that they signaled, right? Which would make sense. Now we get into more grounded stuff that I can kind of say, a lot of this, most of this portion I know. But so remember, we saw it leave and head back towards the cemetery area. And then what do you know? And that was at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, or 3 minutes, 3 a.m. and 30 seconds. And then lo and behold, 3 minutes later. And it'd only take maybe a minute to get to the cemetery. And then alert the person who has the shoes. Again, going off the scenario that he didn't make it home. 3:03 and 28 seconds. Literally 3 minutes later. And I'll tell you this, between 3 and 3:30, there are not many cars. Between 3:30 and 4 a.m., there are more cars moving back and forth. So keep that in mind as well.
It was planned, or he was lured out of the house, or something triggered him to leave out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And walked out of the
that would
house.
be awesome.
I personally
Thanks,
feel he got to Long Hole Pike, and he got picked up in a car, and they headed westbound on Long Hole Pike.
Wow.
What's eerie is
an hour. Yeah, and I don't blame you. Again, I can't say 100% he didn't make it home, but there's more and more evidence to push me that he didn't make it home, and yeah. Okay. So this is where this part I can say a lot of this is pretty spot on, and yeah. So now we have a 3:03 car come. And we can literally break this down. And the time, again, adds up almost exactly. I mean, you could add and take away a few seconds from any part of this, and it would still round off to about the end time that I'm going to show you here. That bless Fish Sticks for releasing, because he's such a genius. But check this out. All this time is literally counted. You could do it for yourself if you wanted. I will eventually put out a short, and I'll probably put a timer up so you can actually see the time. It's just one thing I haven't had a chance. It takes a lot to put up a timer and get it just right. But anyway, check this out, because I promise you this all adds up. And there's something new I discovered that was like there. I can't believe I missed it. It is crazy.
And she just missed the turn, but no problems. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to take it.
Yeah, that's definitely possible, KB. Yeah, maybe all the clothes had to come back, so maybe not just the shoes. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's right. Yep. So yeah, they had to get those clothings back. Yep, for sure. And maybe that's why they, because they were just getting it all back, and then when they put the shoes down, she didn't think about the runaway center area, and all of his shoes are there. Okay, thanks to Silver's on the scene, and I'm pretty sure I have his link down in my description, because God bless his soul. But here I took him approximately 50 yards. Now they're coming from the other direction, but more or less it's going to be the same, right? Same time. And so let's add this all up and see where it adds up. And trust me, there's new stuff. If you saw this on Sunday, I promise you, there's so much more. All right, I'm going to get right into it because I'm going to keep rambling on. Okay, this is exciting. So whenever you see a plus sign, that is for the time, starting from when we saw the 3 a.m. car at Long Hollow Pike right here. But since Silver's, they actually did originally come this way, but it was so dark, sadly, Silver's 2 missed the turn, so they had to do a U-turn. So I put, when they came back this way, it's approximately 50 yards, somewhere right here. And that's where I started the timer, right? So it's the same thing. They're just coming from the other side. So here we go. Check this out. I'm going to go full screen so you can see this better, but I'll be commentating.
Kind of slow through the neighborhood. So I'm dropping down the window now. Okay. I go about 10 miles. You probably go 10 miles an hour. maybe even 20. It's a little, yeah, we'll go a little faster. You're not going to turn, you're going to go straight.
So I counted this as approximately 42 seconds to when they get to the intersection,
All
but
right,
they don't
so we're
turn.
coming through the neighborhood. Just, you can go a little faster, hun. You can go a little faster. So just, there are
And
no
that's
street
the
lights. Let's
intersection.
start with that, okay? So you can see that the only light we're seeing.
So they just passed the intersection there. Now, we originally thought all this was going on before, or we originally thought this was all going on after, because we thought there was like the silver sedan and let people out. So all of this we thought was going on after the car had gotten there and let somebody out and stuff. But that is not what happened. And I can say that with 90% certainty. So keep that in mind, because that kind of gives us an idea of who subject 1, and we pretty much know who subject 2 is. But yeah, that's real huge. So as you can see, it goes on before car arrives. We got them moving around. And so, that would make sense for them, Carly signaling KK and then them kind of coming out. He would have probably came out his front yard and then just snuck out through the side. And then, of course, their backyards kind of meet each other. And anyway, he's kind of already there and waiting for her to kind of catch up. And then keep an eye on the trim of this truck, because this gives us an idea of when the 3M car turns on to Stafford.
From extended family members.
Have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues. We have had several clips that have come in, and this one is getting the most attention, showing signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. You see 2 light sources, which we've circled to help you follow.
Let me turn this down real quick. Now, notice the trim of the truck is going to get illuminated. And so we put that at 3:04 and 10 seconds, because that is when Silvers had hit that intersection, and I kind of went a second further to kind of make up for, or a couple seconds really, as they passed it to kind of make up that the turn. Because the motion light, what sets that off is the 3AM car turning onto that street with all of its lights off. But I think what they probably originally thought and didn't think about, maybe, is that even with all of its lights off, I guess with enough, maybe, I don't know, just from the motion of the car, or maybe there could have been some reflectors from the brake lights or headlights, that it set it off. And I don't think they were anticipating that. But you can see where subject 2 is at, and you can see it's starting to move now to the right. And then when we add in one of the leaked clips, this line's perfectly up. Notice the trim of the truck here. We can't see the whole trim. And here in just a second, we're going to see it kick on. So the video's playing. The car now has just turned on. And now we let the timer go. And this clip lasts for 17 seconds. And that is for subject 2 to run across. So I think at this point, subject 1 is blocked maybe behind a tree or a bush or something. But I think originally I thought they went between the homes, but now there's something I found that really excited to show you guys. I think she walked up to the vehicle and got his shoes and clothing. I forgot. I didn't even think about the clothing. And we know that the vehicle had waited. Again, the original timers for these motion lights are set at I believe start at 2 minutes. You can obviously make them go longer, but I think it was probably just set at its factory setting at 2 minutes. And so that vehicle sat there for 2 minutes, and as you can see, the motion light is now back off. So they waited, but I think during those 2 minutes that we unfortunately don't get to see, which would have been very interesting. And this video, they play it for just a few seconds and they pause it because they zoom in. But just before they pause it, I missed something, and I can't believe. And this now even more reinforces me that I do think they boldly walked up to this vehicle. I think they did use the storm drain ditch, because that would make sense. That would, they got around, and that would have been lower ground, and the car would have kind of concealed them a little bit. And there's something I caught. So there's subject 1 waiting. But look at this. Oh my God, what was that? Did you guys see that? I cannot believe maybe I've seen it before and I thought it was a glitch. Let me play that again. So between clip 1 and 2, there would have been 2 minutes as the car waits. I think it's potentially she walked up to the car. So we add the 2 minutes and the 4 seconds to now put us at 3:06 and 31 seconds. But look at this as the car kicks on its fog lights. There's some before this video gets paused. It's so fast. See it? It's hard to see because remember the lighting. I think this could be even the passenger door maybe kicking on, or it could be the light. It is not pixelation. I mean, I can't say 100%, but the way, I'll have to kind of try to do AI with this because I just found this, but typical pixelation doesn't show up like that. You would see like these pixels kind of move around. It is rare to, I wouldn't say impossible, to see something like that pop up that prominent in that way. Usually it'd be pixel. Notice how these look like boxes, right? Because pixels are little tiny boxes, right? And I think it could be like the car door that opened up. I don't know. And she still had the flashlight on or something. There's some kind of light source right there for just a quick second, and it'd be right by the car. Am I muted? Let me know. Are we good? Sound good? Okay. Okay, everybody can hear me. All right. Oof. Maybe it could be something with YouTube or something. Yeah, door open, something. Yeah, it's super fast. And again, just in case if you missed it, again, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I've looked at a lot of, and of course, this footage in general. But notice, we see all these little boxes, right? pixelation comes in like box form, and sometimes it'll do random little white, lighter stuff, but it doesn't do this. Like, that is very interesting. Right before the video pauses, it's so fast too. Like, that is me super slowing it down. And that is right around where that car would be on the passenger side, as if they were collecting. Is that wild? And again, for anybody that thinks that, that they did move him, it's still possible. But again, this is just kind of based on some of the stuff we know, and then kind of building a theory off that. So anyway, continue with the timeline. But yeah, that is so wild. But yeah, continuing with the timeline. So I'm going to go full screen for a second. I'm going to ask you if you can hear me when I go full screen. I just want to see if maybe I didn't mess up something on that. Can you hear me now? Let me know. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And then 6 seconds for the car to back up. So that was me showing the car backing up. So now we're at 3:06, and we're going to add those 6 seconds. Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys. Then it's 13 seconds, and oh man, I got another big thing for you guys for this. So we add the 6 seconds for backing the car up, and 13 seconds for subject KK to be running back. But oh my God, I did something I never thought about doing before, which is really weird. So that puts us at 3:06 and 50 seconds. And again, you could add time. You could add a few seconds here, take a few seconds away from this or that. But in general, and I could easily just add a second into my thing, just say, oh, look, it adds right up. Again, anywhere you could take a few seconds or add or minus a few, and look at that. I mean, come on. So, and we know that this clip was a motion activated clip. We just don't know exactly what's on it, but I can kind of theorize now based off doing all this math. Hold on, but there's more. Oh my God, there's much more. Okay, so continuing on, this was obviously released by SF. God bless his soul. As you can see here, here's the post, and this again, him blaming the father. Which there's, I mean, what's to blame the father about? Again, he had nothing, right? He was hired to. His client is Sebastian Rogers, but all he does is attack the father with there's nothing except he just wants to say, the only thing he can ever argue is saying people are profiting off Sebastian Rogers. Yeah, he's the one that got paid, probably got some good money just to turn it into a circus. But the funny thing is like, is he a double agent, or is he just not the brightest crayon in the box? Because here he tries to prove that, hey, look, there's nothing going on, and he puts a timestamp, and that timestamp, now we can add that up, and we know that this clip is a motion activated clip, which we'll get to in a minute. But what is on this clip, and I can only speculate, but I'm going to show you something else that I figured I didn't even think about doing, that I'm pretty sure, because like I said, once we started, I learned some inside information and some old stuff. Spoke to an old source and went over some old stuff, and I could tell you that all this is spot on as far as like the timestamp and stuff, and that there was something captured. Again, we pretty much know, but there's some more stuff that, again, I can't say for now, but eventually I will tell you guys. Now, this is amazing. So I'm trying to think. This also proves, because the one thing that we were trying to figure out once I got some information is, and I'd learned that the 303 car, or the car comes at 303, and then this is taken at 306, and it's like, okay, either this car showed up at 306 at 51 seconds, and then, this captured maybe Katie running out, out of the home, or this was taken after, when they finished up. It was one or the other. And, so pretty much now doing all the math and the time, it adds up to everything happened between 304, 305 and 307, more or less. Okay, but this is something I never thought about doing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done this before, but I think this tells us what could have been on this clip, allegedly, and what she did wrong. And I'm speaking to KK. So again, God bless SF, Mr. Fish Sticks. Hope you're watching. God bless your soul, you piece of dirt. You scurvy shyster. You are scum. So, what I thought about doing is taking the starting point of subject 2 and the end point of subject 2. And you're probably like, wait, what? So again, what could have captured? Now that we believe that this was after everything happened. Everything went down just before 306. And so here in the original footage, right, we clearly see subject 1, but check this out. I can't believe I didn't think about doing this before. So we have subject 1 that shows up first. And again, remember, they're likely there before the car comes. So someone suggested that the silver sedan could have, with that extra 9 seconds, let somebody out. And that's definitely plausible. I do like that, thinking outside the box. Certainly plausible. Or if that's not the case, then this is likely Carly, in my opinion. But check this out. So, again, just using basic math and geometry. Again, just how we always do. We gotta love math. That's the one thing I was, good at in, school. Most other stuff, I wasn't the best. I still graduated, but math is where I excelled at. Anyway, we first see subject 2 appear at this distance from the floodlights, right? As the first time we see it. Okay? And that pretty much matches up about where just before the gazebo, right? But when they run back and after allegedly jumping the ditch, where do they finish? Where's the finish point? And you'll get what I'm trying to say here in just a minute. So there is KK running back. I know it's a little hard to see, so I apologize. That's KK running back. And we're gonna not timestamp, but we're gonna make a mark of from the distance from the floodlights to the finishing point. Carly would be the neighbor. Those that don't know, Carly is the neighbor that lives there. We try to use nicknames for legal reasons. But there is alleged history because with those open CPS reports, towards before Sebastian went missing, stepfather Crispy, he couldn't be home when Sebastian was home, and obviously Katie had him 90% of the time. So that means whenever Sebastian was home, Crispy couldn't be home, and allegedly she needed help around the home, and there was even rumors in the neighborhood that there was an alleged affair between those two. So there's some history. So anyway, we make our spot at the finish point, right? And we put a static line, right? That doesn't change. Now, even though the video is moving back and forth, we still overlay it all perfectly exactly. You can see the truck because there's two videos being overlaid. You can still see subject. Oh, let me go full screen for just a second so you can see it full screen because this is really important. Because I'm going to show you what I believe was caught on that camera. So let's remember, this is the starting point of when we see subject 2, which is likely KK, right? So that's probably when she first officially turned on the flashlight, or at least had it to where the camera could see. But we can see that I've got them overlaid. So the floodlights are perfectly overlaid, and those are the same static lines. Look at the difference. And remember, she was running back, right? Probably because, the motion light got set off, which I think they weren't expecting. And, she's got the clothing, allegedly, if we're going with that scenario. But the main thing is she's running back, maybe jumping the ditch or whatever. And I think, clearly she didn't turn her flashlight on or had it, concealed very carefully when she was coming out. And I'll tell you why here in a second. But when she was running back, oops, she forgot to turn the flashlight off. And she got further in. And this is the edge of the home, right? This is the corner of the home. Let me go full screen here for a minute. And as you can see, that's the edge of the home right there. And that camera overlooks a good portion of, not the common area, but, she would have went over the ditch, and we see the light kick on, somewhere over here when she's going this way. But clearly she left it on much further as she was running back, as you can see. And we might be able to, here's another thing I could do is probably get an approximate distance as well. But clearly all of this over here would have been towards that area, and it would be not far-fetched to think that, oops, in a rush, running back, she left the flashlight on just a little bit too long, and that got caught on the camera. Again, I don't know, but we know for a fact, without a doubt, that this is a motion-activated clip. So something was captured. But if I had to bet the farm, I would that something like that happened. And I think she knew about this camera, and that's why she was careful when she was coming out. But because in a rush, running back, here comes this flashlight. And of course, any kind of light that's in this because of this camera, it's a nighttime mode, right? So any whites and blacks, any lights kicking on or off, it's going to trigger the camera to go off. And she clearly kept it on much longer. And yep. Oops. KK. Oopsies. And God bless Crabtree, so I'm bringing him up. God bless his soul. Sometimes I wonder if he's a double agent. Maybe he is. I don't know. He could be. He puts up a good front, but here we go. Oh, shoot. Did I just accidentally start it over? Let me pause it. I'll read chat here for a minute, but there's more. Yeah, so what do you guys think right there? Oh, well, let me play this one extra piece real quick, and then we'll pause it. Because there's finish this up. This little area here. Uh-oh. Apple Watch. Remember she had an Apple Watch before Sebastian went missing? Was that Texas Roadhouse with it? And then never seen with it again. Someone's heart rate was elevated at 3 a.m. And guess who told me that? Crabtree. Now, can I say we know that for 100%? No, but I know he was a little worried about that. Yeah, heart rate was up. Is that because she was running back? A little bit in a rush when she was running back. Didn't realize had the Apple Watch on, and oops. Pumped up that heart rate a little bit. Yikes. Oops. Because again, we never see that Apple Watch ever again, right? Again, if there was nothing incriminating about that Apple Watch, right? Again, I wish I had an Apple Watch, but I'm not an Apple device person. But I know they're not cheap. And I'm sure, especially with them, they probably had the latest and greatest at the time. Why wasn't she wearing that unless there was something on that they had to take? Oops. And then your bedroom light was left on along with your sunroom light. Because at 5 a.m., what do you know? Her bedroom light is off. And it looks like just one light is on. So again, lights were on at 3:06. And now 2 hours later, time to, get a little rest before we go make up our story.
One other question I have is recently.
So I'm going to read chat, but I'm going to play this. But I know I've played this before, but I just cannot help but looking at this because it's just like now with more context. And again, there's just a little bit stuff that I know people hate me saying that, but in good time, people, I will tell you, there's a few things that I know that kind of back up that little portion of what I was saying is pretty spot on. So let's listen to her so I can read chat for a minute.
Channel 5 in Nashville.
So
they had
true,
security
David.
Footage that showed 2 flashlights.
Of course, look at how she looks down, but of course, look at Crispy. And now, with the context that we have, think about how she screwed up and got caught on the one camera. It's one thing to be caught on the other one, right? Because they potentially, allegedly jammed that one. But being caught on Carly's camera, being the fact that he's kind of a rent-a-cop and stuff, and we'll get into that. We're not even finished with that part, but just his reaction and then her face. I'm gonna read chat, but we're not so much more to be revealed.
The night he disappeared, is there anything that you think about this video or?
Sure. So there's a lot of speculations about that video that are floating on the internet. Okay, and that is exactly what it is. It's speculations. Now, what I can give you an official statement on is TBI Newslink has released a statement from law enforcement, between local law enforcement, state law enforcement, some federal law enforcement, and they have analyzed that video so many times over that everything that everybody is trying to assume is a flashlight, I hate to say this, it's not. As much as we would love it to be one, it's not.
That is either like a nightlight in Faith's bedroom. It's in Faith's bedroom. I can tell you that. I know it looks close to the almost outside the house, but no, it's in Faith's bedroom. Because you can line up the daytime shot with the nighttime shot. So it's one of two things. Either it's a nightlight in her bedroom, or she had her bedroom door open, and then whatever lighting that Katie had on at 3 a.m. was kind of emanating into that. One of the two.
I'm not going to go into details as far as where that video is shot from, but I can tell you, as the parents, we have seen the video firsthand from law enforcement.
Michelle.
We know exactly where it was taken from, and nothing that is being assumed right now is actually true about that video, unfortunately.
Okay.
And anything about any other video?
That's a $1 million question.
Any other video?
Look at how she looked. She doesn't look at the camera until the statement's finished, and it's almost like she's looking to get like a gauge, like, did they believe this or not? Like, look at it.
Federal law enforcement, and they have analyzed that video so many times over.
Sorry, I went a little too far over.
That everything that everybody is trying to assume is a flashlight, I hate to say this, it's not. As much as we would love it to be one, it's not. I'm not going to go into details as far as where that video is shot from.
Of course not.
But I can tell you.
Why help your child's case if there's surveillance that could, that's literally near your backyard? Why? Yeah. But look at as he finishes, and as this whole question and answer is finished, and Katie, of course, has been looking down the whole time. Then she looks up, like almost like for approval, or gauging, like, did they believe this?
As the parents, we have seen the video firsthand from law enforcement. We know exactly where it was taken from, and nothing that is being assumed right now is actually true about that video, unfortunately.
Should I look?
And anything about any other video?
Did they believe me?
And anything about any other video?
No, we don't believe you, KK. Sorry. Sorry, but not sorry. Yeah, they would just take the data, Brenda. They would take the data from it. And from what I understand, they did. And from what I understand, Fish Sticks did as well. I think he even said that in Lore Lodge. But this is when Crabtree was still, even though he was already kind of sucked in with fish sticks, yeah, he kind of, before I'd say he was pretty much all in. He still had questions, but then, yeah, I think he had heard about the heart rate and then was like, oh, at 3 a.m.,
Observed when she went back through her footage was at 5:12 the trash came. Okay, that would have been on Monday morning. At about 6:20, Mom comes out. It could have even been 6:30. It was sometime in that window. Mom comes out. She sees neighbors. There's multiple neighbors outside at that point, and she starts saying, I can't find Sebastian anywhere. I can't find him anywhere. Now, I don't think she's much set.
And so there's the daytime shot. But yeah, these are all motion activated clips. Kind of gone over that, so I'm not going to go too much into this. But of course, these were released by Crabtree, who then deleted his live right after. I've gone over this before, but he was releasing the unblurred stuff, and now we know why. Fish sticks had blurred the house because it had lights on at 3:06 a.m. When they're supposedly in bed, right? So there's more. Trust me, we haven't finished up because there's more argument to what Crispy said, and the cemetery. Still gotta go back to the cemetery. Okay, the other thing that's interesting is that, and I forgot about this, and thank God spoke to an old source. And I'm sure this has been mentioned before as well, but Carly, as we call him, went around telling people they didn't capture anything on their camera. Which again is like, oh, what? And now we know that's not true. So why would he tell people he didn't capture anything? Carly says, you're making them scream at the TV. I mean, I clearly got SF. I mean, good old Fish Sticks was rattled. I mean, he had to show his face in the chat, just to act like a child. But on a Saturday evening, that tells you a lot. Like I said, that tells you he knows that I've got some good sources. And again, I don't know everything. I cannot emphasize that enough. I've got certain pieces. There's still so much, we don't know what they did with Sebastian. Obviously, that's the big one. But we can start to kind of piece what we have together, and it is starting to finally come together. There's still so much more that, we don't know, but yeah. So here, so remember, they came allegedly from the cemetery, silver sedan. But here's the question, right? We know this finished. KK would have ran back at 3:06 and 51 seconds. And allegedly maybe got caught on the camera, or is her light turning on? I would lean towards the former. I can't say 100%. I'm just kind of guessing, but with how far she ran going back versus how long until she turned on her light, I would think that she made an oopsie and set this off. But I just, speculating. But now, so where did that car go? right? After, again, whether you believe he made it home and was put in that car, which it's still possible, still definitely plausible. Or if you believe he didn't make it home and you kind of believe this scenario that they had to drop off his clothing, right, to prove he made it home. And so, which way did it go? So there it is, going to do either pick up Sebastian or drop off his clothing, right? But what happens after 306, or basically 307? Do we see a vehicle coming back eastbound towards the cemetery?
Walked out of the house.
So I'm going to let Crispy talk for a second, and then I'm going to tell you the answer.
Either it was planned or...
So remember the time now. This would have been finished up, right? So that car is now coming up on Kellen and Long Hollow. Which way does it go? Maybe Crispy knows.
Or he was lured out of the house, or something triggered him to leave out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And walked out of the house. I personally feel he got to Long Hole Pike. And he got picked up in a car, and they headed westbound on Long Hole Pike.
Wow.
What's eerie is, he's likely not far off from the truth, but notice he carefully took his time to say Long Hollow. Yet the evidence from the 3 a.m. video shows activity on...
Would it surprise you that this car appears to have gone westbound?
Stafford. That's because certain agencies, family members, and others don't want you to know the truth, and I will show the big clue that will crush.
How do you know that it went westbound? We won't see another vehicle until 3:15, and it's going west, which means this is before Kellen, so this car would not be involved. But there is no car since the 3:03 a.m. time till 3:15. Which means, unless that car just sat there somewhere in the neighborhood, which I highly doubt because it did not have a back license plate, that car went west. Just like Crispy said. And what's interesting, and again, I had this backwards, so I do apologize. In the 2 previous lives, I said that it was reversed. It's my dyslexic. But there's only 3 vehicles that actually go left, which is east. One of them we know is the silver sedan at 3 a.m. and 30 seconds. And one of the 8 vehicles is the 303. But keep this in mind. One of those 3 vehicles is the silver sedan. But this is where it gets even more interesting. Now we're going to add in the cemetery. So we fast forward, and as you can see, there is nothing. And then...
The suspicious...
Oops. Oh, yeah. The next car we see is at 3:15, but again, this is before Kellen, so this car would clearly just be probably a random car. But the next car we see, and remember, there's only 3 cars that go east. One of them we knew is the silver sedan, and I think it's possible that that 3 a.m. car left. Remember, it doesn't have a back license plate, so it has no license plates. I think it drove, it went west. Probably would be a smart idea. I'm not. Probably would have been smart to drive up the street just a little bit, turn down this no man's land where there's probably no cameras. Go stop up here, where there's clearly no cameras. Go put on a back license plate, proper one, right? And then clearly they've got something going on at the cemetery, because at 3:28, 22 seconds, a car is seen going east. Only one of 3. Other one being, we know, the silver sedan. Heading towards the church cemetery.
On the night Sebastian Rogers disappeared, the suspicious light can be seen again at around 3:40 a.m.
And at 3:40, the cemetery lights up. And that vehicle, one of the only 3 vehicles going east, at basically, more or less, we'll just kind of even it off at 3:30. 10 minutes later, activity starts popping off all the way until 4:01 a.m. And there are up to at least 2 to 3 vehicles in that cemetery. Now, that could be just coincidence. Again, I can't say 100% that vehicle goes to the cemetery, but again, what are the odds? There's 10 minutes later and only one of 3 vehicles going that direction. And 10 minutes later, activity goes off from 3:40 till 4:01, 4:03, I think. And then they leave. So they're in there for about 20 minutes or so in the cemetery. I think they finished up doing what they're doing. Sebastian was there, maybe got rid of some evidence as well. Maybe she dropped off some evidence and picked up the clothing, who knows? And then all the cemetery activity goes on, and then bam. What day of the week? It happened the morning of his disappearance, and it happened literally 24 hours the morning before he went missing. I try to say night because it's just easier. So the night he went missing, a bunch of stuff pops off, and the night before, the same exact activity was going on. And the big thing is we never see cars enter the cemetery, but yet we see them leave as if they're coming in through the private drive back here, which is super sus. So, then the last thing to add in here is just to kind of argue the scenario that she didn't have Sebastian, is that the front porch lights were not on. And we kind of speculated that maybe she kind of came out of the crawl space, but we can tell, we've done this in previous lives, that the light passes before and after the crawl space, so I don't think she came from the crawl space. I'm 99% sure she didn't come from the backyard, because she would have been seen on the neighbor's camera. I think she edged her way out using the darkness, no porch light on, which never even the neighbor across the street said it was so odd to see the porch lights off that night when they're usually on. And I think that was the reason is because she came out the front door. So the argument would be, would she risk, like, maybe she, if she had moved Sebastian that night, would she risk carrying him out through the front door? Or even just escorting him, and any child, autistic or not, moving a child at 3 a.m., either waking him up out of bed or something, and then moving him, how do you know things are going to go perfectly right to get him into the car, right? Not to say it's not impossible, but so that kind of adds more. And then, of course, they had the keypad lock, which they had an app for on their phone. And a certain agency was, in the very beginning, kind of working with them, trying to look for Sebastian. And they were having conversations. And this was brought up that they kind of learned that, there are logs in these apps of when the door is up, whenever the door opens. Either going out or in, right? And they had a few conversations, and then when they asked to get that data from KK, well, she ghosted them. And this was a pretty legit organization. I'm not going to say who. And for her to just all of a sudden ghost them after that kind of conversation about that tells you a lot. I would think it would. I don't know how. I guess there. When it comes to GPS, keep in mind it always depends on the service. So, and it could be maybe she left her Apple Watch at the home, right? But she ran and then put it back on, and then it captured her heart rate because it was still up. You could also say it that way, like she still had it on her, or like she took it off, but then because she ran back, came back in the home, put it back on just maybe instinctively or whatever, and then it registered her heartbeat. You could, I guess you could work it both ways.
Can I tell her who's... yeah, my name's Heather. I came by yesterday. Hi, Katie.
What can I do for you? Are you
Yeah.
the woman that trespassed my property yesterday?
I actually didn't. I walked down your neighbor's property and then down the easement and then up the
That's
other
not
side.
an easement. I own that. That's my property.
Well, the fence says no trespassing. I didn't come on the property.
That is my property.
The easement, that's a public easement.
It's possible, but the thing is we can, because we can kind of gauge Tessa, like where, because I've done those overlays, and we could tell she runs clearly past her backyard. So I don't think so. At least going back, maybe coming out, it's possible. But I would tell you that when she came back, I could say she likely went to that front door. Oh, Monday morning. He went missing Monday morning. Sorry. And I'm sure somebody probably answered that for you. But yeah, Monday morning. It happened Monday morning and Sunday morning. The cemetery stuff. Let me get caught up
I
on
am here to
chat
try to clear
We're
you.
almost finished
so,
up
I
here.
need you to clear me. So I don't know why you're being defensive with me.
Okay, so can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
First, can you identify yourself?
I did already. My name's Heather, private investigator.
Well, you're coming to my house. And you're
I am. I'm investigating the disappearance of your stepson. So
2 dozen roses. Thank you so much for giving a Mob Crew membership. That is so sweet. I appreciate the support. Really, really helps me out. I think a lot of you guys know I really spend a lot of time on these videos. I take honor and pleasure to, make sure I present a cohesive and visual presentation that, makes sense. Because it's one thing to just have like a podcast, whatever, but I like to be a visual person. So that means so much. And thank you, Patty. Thank you for your hard work on this. Your hard work show. You do hard work and it shows. Thank you. Thank you so much, Patty. And that goes for what I just said. And Star Child, thank you so much for the membership. God bless you guys. So I had a little bit more, but let's just finish up with, and I just want to mention this. I'm not going to dive into this again, but for anybody that's kind of newer or anything, if you see Fish Sticks or Crabtree or any of their followers ever say, oh, this didn't happen there and it happened at 5 a.m., just give them this screenshot right here and tell them, explain this to me. And if they don't even know what the hell it is, then be more than happy to say, yeah, this is a 3D scanner. Look it up. This is not used in a missing persons case.
Place. Let me repeat that. Where they believe the activity took place. And yes, that is the TBI using this 3D scanner in the Stink Feet backyard. So why were they in their backyard?
This is only used for forensic issue purposes only. First used in accident reconstruction, then it started getting more mainstream. And not every agency has one of these because these are anywhere from 5 digits to 6 digits. The upper 5 digits to 6 digits. They don't just bring this kind of equipment out for anything. And I've got a video on it if you want to learn more. But they took scans, and they do that every 50 feet. You could see where they were walking. They'd take 20 paces. And that was them in the backyard. And you can tell that they're going this way because that is where all the activity was, they're kind of basically overlapping. They're kind of starting before the activity, and then they'll probably make their way to beyond where the activity, if that makes sense. So if most of the stuff's happening here, right, they're going to get stuff before it and after to make sure they cover, and yeah. And then they can incorporate the 3 a.m. light video into the scan data, which I've gone into, but I'm not going to because I've done that before. But basically, if any of these guys try to say, oh, no, put this up and say, hey, explain this to me. Love to see their argument to that. And then the other last thing to kind of finish up on is the Amber Alert and why maybe they didn't release the 3 a.m. car is because does this kind of also reinforce that they don't believe he actually made it home? Right? And so they don't believe he got in that 3 a.m. car. I think they suspect clearly there was something that's connected to the case, but typically Amber Alert, it's the vehicle that they were abducted in. So is that why they never released the vehicle? And does that also prove or put more weight that he didn't make it home? And yeah. Yes. And thank you, Brenda. Yeah. And we went over the Sumner County where they put that statement in, which tells you a lot. I was going to go over all them trying to show proof of life. The last thing I just want to show is all of the stuff that Fish Sticks, all of this stuff. Like, he tells me at the beginning, the beginning of the show that I played where he's like, move on from this case, and quit grifting. And it's like, you were hired, you admitted you were paid, probably paid pretty good money. what did you accomplish? What did you accomplish except for go on Twitter and attack Bobby's son, Bobby and her son, turn that into a circus, which led nowhere, and then just keep calling people grifters, especially me, and then, of course, do one of the most despicable things, and I will never let this down, and I cannot wait when this case breaks open, and this will be brought up. I can't wait. You know, you made your bed, you're going to lie in it. But to come up with what I call the 1-year anniversary con is literally the most shocking, disturbing thing I've ever seen, ever. And I've seen some really funky, disturbing stuff in my 4 years of covering true crime. And when it comes to this kind of thing, right? You know, not the crimes themselves, but, you know, like a PI coming in and doing this is just this, it's so effed up. And I'll never let it go, because again, you made your bed, you're going to lie in it, my friend. And again, and sit there and call people grifters when you got paid big money. And again, what did you do? You did nothing. You have footage. And again, if I had my hands on the footage he had, oh my God, we'd be so much further into this case. But yeah, it is what it is. But I believe this year could be the year that karma comes. I really do. And again, that's why Fish Sticks is, you know, popping up in my channel, because he knows I'm getting closer, and he knows that I've got some good sources, because again, I know I keep mentioning this, but think about it. If I was full of BS and I wasn't even close to what really happened, why would he take the time out of the day to, you know, come and see what I'm doing? Which clearly we know, if Fish Sticks and Crabtree are keeping an eye on me, we know who else is keeping an eye on me. But I got my eyes on you guys. All right? Works both ways. Kiki, do you think it's strange how seems EMS is always over Craddock's back, like CP and KP, in my opinion? Oh, okay. The EMS is always behind Craddock's back. Hopefully unless EMS stands for something else. Yeah, if I think I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, I know you're trying to say Craddock's and it got spelled checked. And thank you, Kiki. Yeah, whatever you're saying, I do agree that, you know, there's something fishy with Craddock. Bottom line, and I think most of us can agree with that. I thank you, David. I appreciate it. I will, Liz. I'm sorry, Liz. Liz, I am going to do a short video, breaking this, you know, with the short video, because some people like those. So I will. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I don't know if there's anything to that. But yeah, that is, yeah. The one guy, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, it is interesting. Oh, thank you, Julia. God bless you, sweetheart. Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. If you by chance didn't hit that like button, please hit it on your way out. It helps. And again, it's, helps Sebastian as well. And, I think this would be much bigger if we didn't have the Nancy Guthrie going on, and that's just how true crime works. There's always going to be other stuff going on, but, just keep in mind, there's a reason why I keep my eye on this case real close, because I really feel like, something may come this year. And the fact that they're watching me just tells me that much more that we're on the right track. So, with that, thank you, mods. God bless you guys so much for all the amazing work. Thank you to my members, patrons. I was trying to have something out today to finish out the month, and I apologize. I will try to get it out tomorrow. I don't think I'll be live tomorrow because I've got a lot to do, just chores, errands. So most likely to be back live Thursday. So with that, God bless you guys. And here's pet outro, and we'll try to, by the end of this week, any new members, collect some pets, because I think I got at least one or two. These are for the members only, though, because this is kind of a perk for them. So anyway, see you guys. Have a wonderful Tuesday night, and we will see you guys most likely Thursday. God bless you guys.
Much to bear and you don't care, and I won't play alone. I got you in my sight. I keep all the words you said to me. I get you on your knees. Rewrite all the things you said that I should be. I'll get you, now you'll beg me please. Hey. Now I stay away, you were never meant to save me. Now I stay away, I'll hear you say you're sorry.